Selena slipped from the noisy docking bay into a narrow corridor that hummed with the hiss of life support systems. The air was stale and recycled, but at least it was quiet. She paused under a flickering lamp, drawing a deep breath. Her pale, lavender skin, almost ghostly in the dim light, shimmered faintly. Black, reflective eyes scanned each corner. She had learned to be careful. Garlic Station was no place for someone like her. Garlic Station sat on the edge of known space where many civilizations met to trade goods, news, and rumors. Ships of every shape and size crowded the hangar bays, and countless travelers bustled through the corridors. Traders hawked rare spices, engineers repaired damaged hulls, and refugees huddled in dimly lit alcoves, hoping someone would offer them shelter. Selenis moved among these people like a shadow, never staying in one place more than a few hours. She wore simple clothes that hid her slender build and trailed a hooded cloak that masked her face. Even so, whispers followed her wherever she went. Rumors whispered that she came from Varoshana, a star system consumed by a strange cosmic plague that twisted minds and bodies. Some claimed her blood carried the plague's cure. Others said she was a carrier of the same disease. Either story made people glance away or step back. Merchandise sellers refused her coin, frightened that their goods would be cursed. The station guards had orders to deport any suspicious alien. Selenis knew this better than anyone. Still, she tried to live a quiet life, gathering food scraps, near the galley and sleeping in empty cargo containers. She had grown used to hiding. On this day, the corridor ended at a massive cargo bay door. Steam hissed from vents overhead, and the scent of machine oil filled the air. Selenis crept along the wall, hugging the shadows. She planned to slip through a maintenance hatch and find a quiet place to rest. As she reached for the latch, a rough voice called out behind her, "Hey you, alien girl, step forward." She froze, heart pounding. Turning slowly, she saw 3 dock workers, tall, bulked by heavy jumpsuits and smudged with grease. Their faces wore scowls, and one brandished a metal rod. Selenis's heart raced. She lowered her eyes, hoping they would ignore her. But one man spat into the floor and snarled, "We've had enough of your kind. Get off this station or we'll tear you apart." Fear tightened her chest. She tried to speak in measured tones. I mean no harm. I am just passing through." His lip curled. "We don't want your excuses. You're a plague upon decent folk. Move on, or we make you." Selenis backed away, pressing against the cold metal wall. The corridor's low hum seemed to grow louder, drowning out her thoughts. She knew she couldn't fight them. Her strength lay in her wits, not in brawn. In a swift motion, she twisted her wrist. A small, wounded glow curled around her palm, a gift from her people that let her heal small wounds. It startled the men. Sparks of lavender light danced for a moment, then vanished. "Stay back," she whispered roughly. The dock workers blinked, uncertain, but fear of her powers only angered them more. "Magic alien freak!" one yelled, raising his rod. They advanced. Without warning, Kalinas ducked under a crate and sprinted down the corridor. She clutched at the edges of her cloak to keep it from snagging. Heavy footsteps thundered behind her as the dock workers gave chase. Her lungs burned and her legs ached, but she did not stop. She had run this path before, through a maze of service tunnels that twisted beneath the station. Soon she spotted a small hatch in the floor. With trembling fingers, she pressed an access code she had borrowed from a sleeping engineer and slid into the darkness below. The hatch closed with a soft click. Kalinas dropped into a narrow maintenance shaft lit by pale green lights. The smell of hot phosphorus mingled with ancient dust. Her pursuers still bellowed above, banging on the floor grates. She moved quickly, crawling over pipes and across narrow catwalks. The station's layout felt like a maze designed to trap people, but she knew a shortcut, a hidden ladder that led to a forgotten sector. Step by step, she climbed toward refuge. After several minutes, she reached a tall gate marked "Authorized Personnel Only." The gate guard was a sleeping security droid. Its patrol schedule expired. She pried open the door using a credit shard and slipped into a long, quiet tunnel. The lights here were dimmer and the metal walls bore old paint peeling from age. Somewhere ahead she heard the faint, rhythmic drip of water. She walked toward that sound, hoping to find an open chamber. Finally, the corridor opened into a makeshift hallway lined with potted plants. A soft glow came from bioluminescent vines coiled around the walls. This was the secret greenhouse that only a few people knew about. Silenus paused at the threshold, eyes wide. The air here smelled sweet, like fresh soil mixed with alien pollen. Small flowers with delicate petals turned toward the light. Leaves of every shape and hue quivered in the gentle breeze of hidden air vents. It felt like a different world, an oasis amid the station's metal corridors. Crouched beside a row of terrariums was a human woman. She wore gardening gloves and held a small trowel. Soil speckled her apron, and her hair, tied in a loose braid, glowed auburn in the soft light. When she sensed Silenus, she straightened and offered a kind smile. She did not call for security or brandish a weapon. Instead, she extended a small container of nutrient solution. "I see you need water," she said in a gentle voice. "These plants can wait a moment." Silenus stared, disbelief flickering in her eyes. She had expected anger or fear, not kindness. Tentatively, she approached and knelt by a cluster of glowing ferns. The woman knelt too, placing the container at Silenus's side. Silenus dipped her fingers into the solution and drank. It tasted sweet and cooled the dryness in her throat. She glanced at the woman, searching for a trap. But the gardener's gaze was calm, steady, and patient. Marisol Chen moved among the verdant leaves with care, her gloved hands trimming dead foliage and adjusting the nutrient misters. The greenhouse sat hidden behind a flimsy panel in the station's maintenance corridors. Only a few people knew it existed. Here, Marisol had planted seeds from her favorite places on Earth, along with experimental alien strains that she acquired through secret channels. She believed that life, no matter its origin, deserved a chance to grow. On this morning, the soft green light of bioluminescent vines cast gentle patterns on Marisol's face. She knelt beside a small cluster of cobalt blue orchids, wiping away dust so their petals could unfurl. She hummed a quiet tune from childhood, a soft memorial to gardens she once tended on Earth. But she was never fully at peace. Garelek Station could be cruel to aliens. She hoped this hidden garden offered a refuge not only for plants but for stray souls that needed rest. A faint rustle behind her made Marisol pause. She turned slowly, trowel in hand, and saw the alien girl standing in the doorway. The girl's lavender skin glowed dimly in the vine light. Black, reflective eyes gazed at the greenery with wonder. Marisol lowered her trowel and smiled gently. There was no fear in her eyes, only curiosity. The alien girl froze, uncertainty flickering across her face. She had never expected to find a human here, let alone one who did not recoil in fright. She pressed the edge of her cloak tighter around her shoulders. I did not mean to intrude," the girl whispered, her voice soft and hesitant. Marisol shook her head. "You are welcome." She set aside the trowel and extended a small spray bottle. "The vines were a bit dry. Would you like to help?" The girl's eyes widened, then lowered to the bottle. She edged forward, closing the space between them. Crouched on the floor, the girl reached for the bottle. She pressed the nozzle, releasing a fine mist over the leaves. As droplets settled on the vine's tendrils, they glowed a bit brighter. The alien girl blinked, clearly surprised. Marisol reached out with a gentle hand and guided the girl's wrist to spray the orchids. "They, like gentle misting," she explained. Her voice was calm, friendly, and patient. The girl let out a small breath, nodding. For a moment, they both worked in silence. Marisol could sense the alien girl's tension fading. She wondered what name the girl used. "I am Marisol Chen," she offered, speaking slowly. "And you are?" The girl hesitated. "Silenus," she said at last. Her accent was soft and dipped in uncertainty. "I have never met a human like you." She looked up, black eyes studying Marisol's face. They always run away or scream. Marisol shook her head. I believe every living being has value. Even if they look different, they deserve respect. She offered a small smile. Tell me about these plants. She pointed to a cluster of purple ferns that curled in spirals. Silenus looked at the ferns as if seeing them for the first time. On Veroshana, we had plants that glowed when they sensed sadness. They would shine, bright when someone felt despair. She reached out a pale hand to touch a fern. As she did, the fern's tips quivered. Your vines glow too. But differently. Marisol watched, fascinated. These vines react to humidity and nutrients. They glow to show they are healthy. The brighter they shine, the happier they are. She knelt beside Silenus and placed a hand on her shoulder. Would you like to hear more about earth plants? I have pictures of forests, deserts, and oceans. Silenus nodded, her black eyes softening. She followed Marisol to a small table where a portable hollow projector rested beneath a clear dome. Marisol tapped a panel, and a vivid image of an earth rainforest bloomed in midair. Towering trees, bright birds, and a shimmering waterfall filled the girl's vision. Silenus gasped softly. It is beautiful, she whispered. On Veroshana, we had crystal canopies that sang in the wind, but our world, it was dying. Marisol watched with empathy as Silenus traced a trembling finger through the hologram. I am sorry, she said quietly. I cannot imagine losing a world. She paused, choosing her words. On Earth, many forests were lost, but humans worked to restore them. We believe in second chances. The girl studied Marisol's face, absorbing the promise in her tone. I have no home now, she said. No one will take me. I have nothing but this vine. It was with me when everything collapsed. Marisol's heart ached. She rose and walked to a nearby shelf. She took down a small terrarium, polished clear glass, revealing a delicate ecosystem inside. Tiny plants curled around one another, their leaves painted in bright greens and yellows. Here, she said, handing it to Silenus. I want you to care for this. Think of it as a gift. You can add your vine here if you wish. Silenus accepted, the terrarium, cradling it gently. She looked at the tiny world inside and then at Marisol. You trust me? Her voice wavered. Marisol smiled warmly. Yes. Trust must start somewhere. She placed a firm hand on Silenus's shoulder. I want to help you, but you have to stay hidden here. If station security finds you, they will either deport you or worse, do you understand? Silenus nodded, her eyes glistening. I understand. She held the terrarium close to her chest, afraid it might vanish if she let go. Thank you. Over the next hour, Marisol showed Silenus how to measure nutrient solutions and clean the leaves without damaging their delicate surfaces. Silenus watched intently, absorbing every detail. With each demonstration, her fear seemed to diminish. She even managed a small smile when Marisol praised her careful touch. Far above the greenhouse, station announcements crackled through loudspeakers. A voice warned of a new order from the security chief. All unauthorized aliens must present themselves within 24 hours or face forced removal. The words drifted downward, barely reaching the greenhouse, but enough to jolt both women. Marisol's expression hardened. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with renewed resolve. We must be more careful, she said, voice low. If they come looking, I will try to delay them. The greenhouse has hidden maintenance ducts that lead to the lower levels. We can escape if need be. Silenus pressed a hand to her chest, heart thumping. I do not want to run. She looked at Marisol with pleading eyes. I do not want to hide anymore. Marisol gently lifted Silenus's chin with a gloved finger. I know. That is why I want to help you find a place to stay. Perhaps there is someone on Earth, someone who will welcome you. Silenus's black eyes shone. You would do that? She whispered. You would help me find safe ground? Marisol nodded firmly. Yes, but first we must survive here. For now, stay. She gestured to a small alcove beside a tall shelf. A folded blanket and a simple water filter rested there. This is your space. You can rest, eat, and breathe fresh air. Tomorrow, we will plan our next step. Silenus took a slow breath and sank to the floor. She placed the terrarium in front of her like a cherished friend. Marisol knelt beside her, handing her a small bowl of nutrient paste. The paste tasted bland, but provided energy. Silenus ate in silence, her eyes never leaving Marisol's face. Marisol placed a gentle hand on Silenus's back. "You're not alone anymore," she murmured. "I will watch over you." Silenus woke to the soft sound of dripping water and the warm scent of leaves. The greenhouse lights glowed gently, casting green and gold reflections across the walls. She blinked slowly, sitting up from the blanket Marisol had given her. Her arms were stiff, but her heart felt lighter than usual. For the first time in many weeks, she had slept without fear. Marisol was already awake. She stood across the room, adjusting a small control panel near a row of sky-colored flowers. Her auburn hair was tied back, and she wore the same gardening apron. When she saw Silenus stir, she smiled. "Good morning," she said softly. "Did you sleep well?" Silenus nodded. "Yes, it was peaceful here." Her voice was still quiet, but it carried a bit more strength than before. Marisol walked over with 2 bowls, one with fruit paste and the other with soft bread warmed on a small heater. "You should eat," she said, handing the bowl to Silenus. "We'll have a busy day." Silenus sat cross-legged and took a small bite of the bread. It was simple, but it reminded her of something from her old home. "Thank you," she said. "No one has ever treated me this kindly." Marisol sat beside her, eating as well. "Sometimes people forget how to be kind," she said. "They're afraid of what they don't understand." Silenus looked down at her hands. "Many think I'm dangerous, but I've never hurt anyone." She paused. "My people taught us to protect, to heal." Marisol raised an eyebrow. "Heal? Like medical healing?" Silenus reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out a small glowing vine. It was no longer hidden in fear, it now rested in her palm like a trusted friend. "This plant remembers feelings," she said. "When I focus, it can react to sadness or pain." She gently wrapped the vine around her wrist. The soft glow turned a calming blue. Marisol leaned in closer, amazed. "That's incredible. Plants on Earth can respond to light and water, but nothing like this." Silenus offered the vine. "Touch it." Marisol hesitated, then extended a finger. As soon as she made contact, the vine shimmered softly and pulsed with a warm light. A strange calmness washed over her. "It's like it's alive in a different way." "It is," Silenus replied. "We call it a soul vine. On Veroshana, these plants were sacred. They held the memories of our ancestors." Marisol's eyes widened. "Memories?" Silenus nodded. "Yes, they glowed in patterns when emotions were strong. Happy memories glowed golden. Sad ones turned silver." Marisol stood up and walked to her workbench. She returned with a clear container. "Would you like to plant it here? Just a small piece. We can care for it together." Silenus gently clipped a thin part of the vine and placed it in the container. As it touched the soil, the light shifted to a soft pink. The vine slowly curled into the soil, settling in. "It's happy," Silenus said with a smile. A soft beep from the control panel drew Marisol's attention. She walked over, checked the screen, and frowned. "Security drones have increased patrols near the lower levels," she said. "They're looking for someone. It might be you." Silenus's smile faded. "They won't stop until they find me." Marisol tapped her fingers on the panel. "Then we have to be ready. We'll make a backup plan. I know some of the older tunnels. If they come too close, I'll lead them away." Silenus stood. "You don't have to risk yourself for me." Marisol turned to face her. "I choose to. That's what friends do." Silenus looked surprised. "Friends?" Marisol smiled. "Yes, friends." There was a moment of silence. Then Selenis smiled too, a soft, rare smile that lit her entire face. I have not had a friend since Veroshana fell. They spent the afternoon working side by side. Marisol showed Selenis how to adjust the moisture levels, how to recognize nutrient shortages, and how to trim weak stems without harming the plant. Selenis proved a quick learner. Her hands, though alien in shape, moved with care and grace. She spoke more now, telling small stories of her home. Forests made of crystal trees, floating gardens above lakes, songs carried by the wind. In return, Marisol showed her Earth's wild beauty through holograms, mountains, rivers, sunsets. Selenis stared in wonder, her fingers brushing across the light. Earth is full of life, she whispered. Maybe I could belong there someday. You could, Marisol said, and I'll help you get there. As the day ended, they lit small lanterns to keep the plants warm. Selenis placed her new vine beside the terrarium Marisol had given her. Both glowed softly. Suddenly, a faint noise echoed from the far corridor. A metallic thud. Selenis tensed. Marisol quickly dimmed the lights. Stay quiet, she whispered. She peeked through a hidden panel. 2 security drones hovered outside, scanning. Selenis crouched low, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders. Her hands shook. Marisol placed a calming hand on her back. The drones lingered for a moment, then moved on. Once the sounds faded, Marisol let out a breath. We'll be okay, but we need to move carefully from now on. Selenis nodded. I trust you. Marisol looked at her and smiled. Then we'll find your new home, one step at a time. In the soft green light of the greenhouse, among vines and flowers and shared silence, something powerful had begun to grow. Trust, friendship, and hope. The lights above flickered once, then twice. Selenis froze where she stood, holding a tray of soil samples. Marisol, standing nearby, noticed the sudden change. She looked up at the ceiling. That's the second power flicker today, she said quietly. Something's not right. Selenis placed the tray down carefully. They're searching again, she whispered. Her voice trembled. I can feel it. Marisol moved quickly to a small console hidden behind a rack of vines. She typed in a few commands, and a screen showed a live security feed from the outer maintenance corridor. 2 security drones hovered near the entrance of the greenhouse tunnels. Behind them stood 3 armed guards, scanning the walls with glowing devices. They're getting too close, Marisol said. We don't have much time. Selenis stepped back, panic in her eyes. If they find me, they'll take me. I'll be sent away, or worse. Marisol reached out and took her hand. No, I won't let that happen. Selenis stared at her, unsure. But how can we stop them? They are many. We are only 2. We don't fight, Marisol said firmly. We move. Marisol opened a storage hatch in the floor, revealing a narrow tunnel. It was dark and dusty, but it led to the lower cargo levels, an old part of the station few people used anymore. Grab your vine, she said, and take only what you need. We'll hide there until the patrol moves on. Selenis nodded and rushed to her corner. She quickly picked up her vine, now glowing faintly with a worried blue light. She wrapped it around her wrist like a bracelet. She also took the small terrarium Marisol had given her. It had become her treasure. Moments later, both women climbed into the tunnel. Marisol closed the hatch behind them and sealed it with a magnet lock. The only light came from the glow of the vine and the small flashlight on Marisol's tool belt. They moved fast, crawling and ducking under low pipes. The tunnel was tight and filled with dust, but they pushed forward. The air was warmer here, and the sound of their own breathing echoed around them. After what felt like an hour, they reached a small maintenance room. It had old equipment and a broken vent, but it was quiet. Marisol shut the door behind them and sank to the floor. We'll wait here for now, she said. They won't search this deep. Selenis sat beside her, holding the terrarium in her lap. I never thought anyone would risk so much for me, she said softly. Marisol gave a tired smile. You're not just anyone. You're my friend. For a few minutes, silence filled the room. Then Kelenis said, "There's something I haven't told you." Marisol looked at her with concern. "What is it?" Kelenis took a deep breath. "They are not just afraid of me because I'm different. They are afraid because something is following me. Something powerful." Marisol leaned forward. "Following you?" "Yes," Kelenis said, her voice shaking. "The same force that destroyed my planet is searching for survivors. It doesn't want the truth to escape. I am one of the last." Marisol's heart sank. So those guards, they might not even be normal station security. They could be part of it. The air grew colder. "Then we have to be careful," Marisol said. "But that doesn't mean we give up. We get to Earth, we find help." Kelenis nodded. "Yes, Earth may be my last hope." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from above. The wall panels rattled. Marisol stood up quickly and turned off her flashlight. Kelenis held her breath. Footsteps. They were above them now, walking across the metal corridor. A low voice spoke through a communicator. "Target not found in primary zone. Expanding search to subdecks." Kelenis's eyes widened. She whispered, "They're scanning lower levels now." Marisol bit her lip, thinking fast. "We need a way off this station." "There are ships," Kelenis whispered. "In the cargo hangars. Some leave without full checks." Marisol nodded. "Then we head there, now." They exited the maintenance room through another vent. It led to an old cargo lift. Marisol hot-wired the control panel and the lift groaned to life. As it descended, Kelenis looked through the vent and saw a small group of guards just miss their trail. They were lucky, this time. The lift stopped at cargo level 4. It was quieter here. Most of the lights were dim. Old crates lay scattered across the floor. In the distance, engines roared as freighters prepared for departure. Marisol pointed toward a small transport ship on the far end. "There, we sneak aboard that one." They ran between crates using shadows to hide. As they reached the loading ramp, a voice called out behind them, "Stop." Kelenis turned and saw 2 guards raise their weapons. Marisol pulled her forward. "Run!" As they sprinted into the ship, a loud alarm rang out. The pilot, already inside, shouted, "Who are you?" Marisol pleaded, "We need to leave now, she's in danger." The pilot hesitated, then saw the fear in Kelenis's eyes. He nodded. "Hold on." The ramp closed behind them just as shots rang out. The engines roared and the ship blasted away from the station, leaving behind the confusion, the fear, and the guards still shouting on the dock. Kelenis and Marisol sat side by side, breathing hard. "You did it," Kelenis whispered. "You saved me." Marisol shook her head. "We saved each other." Outside the window, stars stretched into light as the ship entered jump speed. But both women knew the journey was far from over. Something dark still followed. But together, they had hope, and that was more powerful than fear. The stars outside the window stretched like silver threads as the freighter entered jump space. The ship rumbled softly, its engines humming with steady power. Inside, the air felt heavy, filled with tension and silence. Kelenis sat quietly near the side wall, her hands wrapped around the small terrarium. Her vine glowed gently, casting a pale blue light on her face. Marisol leaned back in her seat, catching her breath. She turned to look at Kelenis. "Are you okay?" she asked. Kelenis nodded slowly. "Yes, just tired. My heart is still racing." Across the room, the pilot finished checking his controls. He was a tall, older man with gray streaks in his beard and sharp eyes that had seen many things in deep space. He walked toward them and folded his arms. "I don't usually take on passengers," he said, "especially ones running from security. Mind telling me what's going on?" Marisol stood. "She's not a criminal, she's a refugee. She was being hunted for something she didn't do." The pilot raised an eyebrow. "What's so special about her that they'd send armed men to chase her?" Kelenis spoke softly. "I am from a lost world, Veroshana. It was destroyed by a terrible force. I escaped, but something dark follows me. They don't want me to survive. Or speak. The pilot stared at her, his expression unreadable. And that glowing plant? It remembers, Selena said. It holds memories from my world. Some happy, some painful. It is all I have left. The pilot stayed quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. I'm Captain Torres. This ship is the Starling. We're headed toward Earth on a supply run. I can get you close, but I'll need to convince Earth authorities to let you land. Will they accept her? Marisol asked, worry in her eyes. Torres sighed. Earth is complicated. Some people are kind. Others are afraid of outsiders. But if she can prove she's not a threat, they might listen. Kelenis gently touched the vine around her wrist. I can show them what happened. My people's memories. They're inside this plant. Marisol looked hopeful. That could help. People need to see the truth. Hours passed as the ship flew through deep space. The hum of the engines and the soft glow of the stars gave them a strange sense of peace. Selenis finally allowed herself to relax. She leaned her head on Marisol's shoulder, and for the first time in many days she smiled. But peace didn't last long. Late into the journey, warning lights blinked on the ship's main screen. A loud beep echoed through the room. Captain Torres rushed to the cockpit. We've got a tail, he said. Marisol stood up quickly. Who is it? Torres narrowed his eyes. Unknown ship, no transponder code, and it's fast. Selenis's glow dimmed. They found me. The Starling shook slightly as the mysterious ship came closer. On the monitor, it looked dark and sharp, shaped like a blade with red lights across its body. It was nothing like normal patrol ships. They're locking weapons, Torres said. We need to move now. He pulled the controls and the Starling veered sharply. Alarms blared, and the ship sped through an asteroid belt nearby, dodging rocks and debris. The unknown ship fired, and a beam of red light shot past them, missing by inches. Selenis gripped her terrarium tightly. They will not stop. Marisol grabbed a nearby cable and held on. We have to reach Earth's signal range. Someone there might help us. Torres nodded. We're close. Hold tight. Minutes felt like hours as the Starling twisted through space. The enemy ship stayed close behind, firing again and again. Sparks flew across the ship's control panels, and smoke began to rise. We've got one shot, Torres shouted. I'm sending a distress call to Earth. If they answer, maybe we'll have a chance. He pressed a button, and a message was sent across space. This is Captain Torres of the Starling. We have a refugee aboard, under attack by unknown forces. Requesting emergency support. Location, Sector 394. Seconds later, a reply came. Starling, this is Earth Defense. We read you. Sending 2 interceptors now. Hold your course. Relief washed over them. Moments later, 2 sleek human ships appeared on the radar. They flew in fast and fired at the enemy ship, forcing it to back away. The dark vessel turned, then vanished into a jump portal. Kelenis stared at the screen, trembling. They'll come back. Marisol placed a hand on her shoulder. Not today. Today you're safe. The Starling continued toward Earth, guided by the escort ships. Through the windows, the blue planet slowly came into view. Beautiful, round, and full of life. Selena stared at it with wide eyes. It's amazing, she whispered. Torres smiled. Welcome to Earth. As they prepared for landing, Marisol turned to Selenis. This is your new beginning. We'll explain everything. They'll see who you really are. Selenis nodded, tears in her eyes. Thank you for staying with me. Marisol smiled. We're in this together. Above the clouds, as Earth welcomed them home, a single vine glowed brightly, its light filled with hope, memory, and the promise of a future. The blue and green curve of Earth grew larger in the ship's window. Selenis watched in silence, her black eyes wide with wonder. She had seen many planets before, but Earth felt different, alive, warm, and welcoming. Her glowing vine wrapped gently around her wrist, shining softly in a light pink color. It was the color of hope. Marisol sat beside her, watching the readings on the screen. "We'll land soon," she said softly. "Stay close to me. Earth authorities will have questions, but I'll speak for you." Captain Torres stood near the cockpit. "I've done what I could. Once we land, it's up to you both. Just be honest with them." Selenis nodded. "I'm ready." But just as the ship prepared to enter Earth's lower orbit, a sharp alarm rang through the control room. Torres rushed to the screen. No, not again. Another ship had appeared behind them, fast, silent, and dark like a shadow. It was the same vessel that chased them near the asteroid belt. Its shape was long and sharp, glowing with red symbols. A voice crackled through the radio, deep and cold. "Turn over the alien. This is your final warning." Selenis froze. "They followed us." "They shouldn't be here," Torres said angrily. "Earth space is protected." Marisol jumped to her feet. "We have to call for help again." Torres pressed a button. "Starling to Earth Defense Command. We are under threat again. Unauthorized ship in low orbit." "Repeat, we are being followed. Requesting immediate support." The enemy ship drew closer. Its weapons began to charge. Red beams lit up across its wings. Inside the ship, lights flickered. The glowing vine on Selenis's arm turned blue again, sensing danger. She looked at Marisol. "I can try something. The vine can disrupt energy, but it will take my strength." Marisol shook her head. "You've done enough. We'll protect you this time." Suddenly, 2 Earth defense ships appeared from the clouds below. Sleek, silver, and fast, they flew toward the attacker without hesitation. A voice came through the radio. "This is Commander Rain of Earth Defense. You are trespassing. Stand down or we will fire." The dark ship did not reply. Instead, it fired a warning shot toward the Starling. The beam passed close to the hull, shaking the ship violently. "Brace for impact," Torres shouted. Selenis gripped the seat tightly, her vine now glowing bright blue. Then, without waiting, she stepped toward the center of the room. She held out her hand and the vine extended into the air. Its light began to shift, blue to white, then to gold. A pulse of energy burst out from it, spreading through the ship and beyond. Outside, the red beams from the enemy ship began to flicker. The attacker's weapon shut down for a few seconds, just long enough. The Earth defense ships opened fire. A bright flash filled the sky as lasers hit the dark ship's side. It swerved, engines damaged. With one last growl, the enemy vessel turned and vanished into a jump portal. Inside the Starling, everyone let out a breath of relief. Torres looked at Selenis in awe. What did you do?" Selenis sank to her knees, weak but still conscious. "The vine remembers energy patterns. I told it to block theirs, but it won't work again soon." Marisol knelt beside her. "You were brave, so brave." A voice came through the ship's comms. "This is Earth Defense. We have cleared the skies. You are clear for landing. Medical team standing by." The ship slowly descended into Earth's atmosphere, breaking through clouds. Sunlight poured through the windows, warming the cabin. Below, green forests, blue oceans, and white cities came into view. It was a breathtaking sight. As they landed on a quiet airfield surrounded by trees, Selenis looked out at the open land. She had spent so many months hiding in steel corridors, fearing every sound. Now the sound of wind through leaves filled her ears. It felt like a dream. Medical staff and a few Earth officials stood nearby, waiting. Marisol stepped off the ship first, holding Selenis's hand. The officials looked cautious but not unkind. One officer, a woman in a Navy uniform, stepped forward. "We received your report. Is this the refugee?" Marisol nodded. "Yes, her name is Selenis. She's the last of her kind, and she has something Earth needs to see." Selenis stepped forward. She unwrapped the vine from her wrist and held it gently in both hands. The soft glow reflected on her skin. "This holds memories of my people. It is not a weapon. It is a message of loss, of hope, and of peace." The officer looked at the vine with curiosity. "We'll take you to a safe place. You'll be allowed to share your story." Marisol smiled. "Thank you." As they walked across the field, the wind carried the scent of earth, soil, and flowers. Selenis felt it deep, in her chest. She was no longer a ghost hiding in shadows. She had reached a place where stories could be heard, where life could grow again, and Earth, this bright, beautiful world, had given her a chance to begin again. The morning sun poured softly through the windows of the small research center where Selenis now lived. The light warmed the room, filled with plants and scientific equipment. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of fresh earth and new beginnings. Selenis stood beside a large glass tank, gently touching the soil inside. Her bioluminescent vine curled carefully among the native earth plants, its soft glow mixing with the green leaves. She watched as a new leaf slowly unfurled, a small but powerful sign of life. Marisol stood nearby, smiling as she adjusted a control panel. "It's growing well," she said. "Stronger than I expected." Selenis turned to her friend. "This place, it feels like home." Marisol nodded. "You've earned it." The days since their arrival on Earth had been busy and full of change. The United Earth Council had granted Selenis temporary asylum, allowing her to stay while scientists studied the vine's strange memory patterns. Many were curious, some skeptical, but most wanted to understand. Dr. Ria Patel, a young biologist, had become a close friend. She spent hours with Selenis, comparing earth plants to the stories of Viewership. Together they dreamed of ways to use the vine's memory to heal both nature and people. One afternoon, Selenis sat with Ria beneath a skylight. Holograms of alien forests floated between them, bright and colorful. Selenis traced a glowing tree with her finger. "Our world was full of art," she said softly. "Floating sculptures made of obsidian and light. They sang stories of our past." Ria smiled. "Maybe we can build something like that here. A place where both our worlds can meet." Selenis's eyes sparkled. "I would like that very much." Outside, the station buzzed with activity. Scientists and diplomats came and went, curious to learn more about this unusual visitor from the stars. Selenis often wondered if she would ever fully belong, but Marisol's words echoed in her mind. "Home is not just a place," Marisol had said. "It's where you're welcomed." One evening, Marisol invited Selenis to visit a protected desert preserve near their research site. They walked quietly beneath the vast, starlit sky, the cool air filled with the scent of dry earth and blooming flowers. Selenis stopped and knelt beside a small patch of red soil. "Here," she said, carefully placing the vine's tender roots into the ground. The soft glow pulsed gently, feeding on the warmth of earth. Marisol stood beside her. "This is your new root, your new beginning." Selenis smiled, a warm light shining from within. "Thank you, Marisol, for everything." As months passed, news spread of the vine's healing power. Earth scientists discovered it could help reverse damage to neural tissues and improve memory function. Papers were written, experiments conducted, and hope blossomed. At a grand hall of the United Earth Council, Selenis stood before an audience of leaders, scientists, and citizens. The room was filled with light and quiet anticipation. Marisol stood beside her, proud and steady. Selenis began to speak, her voice clear and strong. She shared stories of Viewership, the beauty, the loss, and the memories carried by the glowing vine. She spoke of Earth's kindness, the chance she was given to grow again. As she finished, the room erupted into applause. She looked out at the faces before her, some curious, some hopeful, and realized she was no longer alone. Earth had become her home. The glowing vine on her wrist shimmered softly, a living symbol of resilience and unity. And in that moment, Selenis knew that no matter how far she had traveled or how dark her past had been, the future was bright. Together, humans and alien life could build a new dawn, rooted in friendship, hope, and the promise of a better tomorrow. Tools.